Hey there everyone, welcome to another video. You are watching Sew with Jerry, and today I want to share with you some tips and tricks on how to organize your sewing plans, how to get started planning for them, which projects you might want to choose, how to pick and choose the ones that will bring you the most success. Because since my last video, which FYI if you haven't watched that, it's called So Happy 2016, I got a new sewing machine. I'll link it up here in the video and also down below in the information bar. But in there, I asked you what type of sewing related videos you like to see, and many people just talked about that. They would love to get started, but they're not sure how to approach the planning process, how to pick the right ones, where to get started. It's all a little bit daunting and confusing. I love to share with you some of my personal tips from successful planning and also failed planning attempts, because I think the mistakes you make are very important as well. So I have 5 main tips for you here today. As well, we'll get a chance to look through my sewing planning folder binder notebook so you get an idea of how I've been working through things and some of the changes I've made to my planning process. But grab yourself a coffee or a tea, get comfortable, grab some snacks, and let's get chatty. To start, I think it's really important to take a close and hard look at your current wardrobe. What state is it in? Do you have a lot of one thing and not enough of others? And to really think about and have a general idea of what aesthetic and final goal, final style you're working towards. I've mentioned many times I've been working with a lot of my vintage patterns I've collected, and I really want to build my wardrobe up to a more sophisticated yet functional style. I love classic tailoring and very feminine pieces, but I also love textures and playing it up in unexpected colors, matching of course with some solids. Not necessarily black, but things like navy or dark gray or marbled gray, which I really love, the ones with little specks of white in them. I love textures as well, so I've been wearing a lot of those in terms of sweaters or coats, but I need more of that in my personal wardrobe. And I think it's important to have a close and hard look and see where are the holes. What are you missing? I feel like for a lot of people, they fall into one of two categories. Either they have a lot of shiny, pretty, sparkly stuff and not enough wardrobe staples and basics to ground their style, or they have too many frumpy basics and nothing to really jazz it up, one or the other. So I think it's important to take note of that, but also to write down what type of clothing makes you happy. What's in your wardrobe do you feel really good in, that you wear the most often, to flatter your body and things like that. It could be a color that you love, it could be a silhouette or a style, a cut on a dress or something like that, or it could be a certain texture. Note those things, see if they correlate with the style that you're working towards. More often than not it is, because you already love them, and see what you are missing in your wardrobe. And that's a good place to get started with thinking about, okay, where do I go with my sewing projects? Now, step number 2, I think it's important to be realistic with yourself and see where your sewing level is at and how comfortable you are working with projects. Personally, I think it is better to make a simpler project that isn't too far out of your comfort zone, but make it well, than attempt something out of this world, very fancy, and then not be satisfied at the end because it just wasn't done right. For myself, especially in my own experience, when I was younger, definitely, I was like wild and boundless. I would attempt all these things, which is great for just letting yourself go and being creative, but when it comes to actually wearing those pieces, I never did it because they weren't that great. They were a great learning experience, but if you are sewing for your own use and wardrobe, do something that pushes you a little bit but doesn't challenge you too much. It's great to have those lofty sewing goals, but you need to work your way up there. And when you tackle something that's too hard all at once, I find it can really deflate your confidence in sewing, and then you're like, not touching the sewing machine, this sucked, I can't do it. That's not the mentality I want you to start, and you will never get very far if you start thinking like that. So I think it's much more productive to start a little smaller, but really perfect your sewing skills and work your way up from there. So for myself, I know that although I need jeans, I'm not ready to tackle jeans. Denim, not in the picture right now. I'm not quite comfortable tackling anything with too many buttons or details or too much tailoring, so I'm not doing things like blazers this year. I am, however, more comfortable doing things like sheath dresses or princess seams. I'm practicing those, so that challenges me a little bit, but doesn't take me too far out of my comfort zone. And I'm trying to work with slightly wider variety of fabrics, but working with the ones in the category that are easier to do. For example, I love to work with knits a bit more. However, I'm working with thicker knits, so they're easier to sew and they have a bit more structure than very thin knits and flimsy knits, which take a lot of advanced control. So I think that's also a good thing to think about as you're planning for your sewing projects. Tip number 3, be realistic again with your time commitment. What is your day job? What is your schedule like? What's your commitments at home? And how many hours realistically can you really dedicate to sewing in a week? This might mean planning it in your daily planner and says Sunday morning, 2 hours before everyone gets out of bed, I'm gonna sew. That's my quiet time. You could do that. Whatever that you do, plan your time and really look at how much time can I dedicate to a project. Because if you're tackling something that really requires a lot of time and you don't have that amount of time, this project might go on for months and months and months. And to a certain extent, I feel like if I've spent way too much time extended, dragged on for a certain project, I lose drive, I lose motivation, I lose steam to continue to work on that project. So I try to find projects that I can finish in a month or so while working on it every single week, or maybe a month and a half. This year I've given myself 2 months for a single project because I have school and blogging and all that other stuff in my life, but I think it's really important to set those goals and see how much time you can commit. It could be a smaller project, work smaller, make more of smaller things, that's fine too. But really look at how much time you can dedicate to sewing. Now tip number 4 is a big one for me. Write it down. You can do it on your tablet, on your phone, you can do it old school, on a notebook, whatever that you do, have some kind of written or visual organizer for your sewing projects, your sewing ideas. I think that's important so that you can see where you're going and where your goals are. Maybe it's tape the pattern up to your notebook. That is what I want a finished project to look like. Take a swatch of your piece of fabric and stick it together with that. Make a little project planner for each one. And look at it often. Look at it often to remind yourself where you're going towards and what you're working towards as you are sewing to keep yourself motivated. It's also a great idea to plan out your projects that way so you can plan them out seasonally. And if things change, you haven't found the perfect fabric for this lovely long sleeve dress by the time that spring was coming, shuffle it. Right? This is why we have erasable pens, and they are the best thing in the world. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link it down below with the friction erasable markers and pens. I love them, but I plot my sewing down with pen. And I plot them down by months, as I will show you in just a second when we look at my planning binder. And I can move things around if I need to, but in the meanwhile, I do have a plan that I can visually see and reference and know exactly what I'm working on for each month. I think that is very vital to keeping yourself organized and moving along in your sewing progress. Tip number 5, wrapping things up, is really just to bookmark everything. Pinterest is your friend because you can actually upload things that you see. You're walking down, I don't know, at the mall and you see this great mannequin display with this lovely ensemble that you like. Snap a picture, log it, upload it to your Pinterest board, add it to your sewing projects or sewing inspirations. You can bookmark it private if you don't want anyone else to see it. But realistically, I think that's a great way to keep all your ideas together. Sometimes I'll be just online browsing and I see something and I'm like, I could totally make this. and I would add it to my Pinterest board. I'll leave a link to my Pinterest board for sewing in case you're interested in what I'm interested in for this upcoming season, but that's a great way to mark down your ideas and things that come to mind, or even keep a binder full of magazine clippings or sketches of items or styles that you're drawn to. Maybe it's patterns, maybe it's colors, whatever that you stop at the page and you thought, wow, that's really nice, you know, cut it out and stick it in your notebook. It's a really great way to generate sewing ideas, and then when you're looking for patterns or fabric, it's an easy way to reference what exactly is it that you want. Alright, for the last couple of minutes, I thought we'd take a quick tour of my sewing binder and kind of how I've been organizing things. Again, this is a work in progress. I've just started reorganizing this month in January, but I think I've got a pretty basic but functioning system going on. I'll show you two of my binders. One is for my personal sewing projects, and the other one is kind of my inspiration binder. So let's have a look. So these two are my sewing binders. This one is for inspiration and ideas and magazine clippings, and the one on the bottom is really more for project planning. So I'll give you a quick flip of both. This has just everything in it. It could be a photograph that I really enjoy that I've been collecting. This one is Arizona Muse from quite a number of years ago. I don't necessarily have to collect anything that's recent. These are images that really speak to me, either tonally or texturally, or maybe just photographically and aesthetically. So a lot of times they will contain things like how to pair different types of clothing items together, and maybe colors that I really enjoy. They don't have to be perfect, but just something I could flip through and feel really inspired, and there's something that I love about it. Or it could be something like a sketch or design that I really like. This one, let me show you right here, is by D Squared. I thought it was so charming and so cute, so I clipped that out. Moving further on, I do have things like pairings that I really like. For example, this kind of polka dots, a slightly vintage inspired pairing that I love. Colors that I really enjoy, the pastels, you know, the silhouettes. The fuzzy sweater with the pencil skirt is something I'm working towards, which I really think is adorable and quite appropriate for a number of situations for work or just your personal life. Moving on, this is my actual sewing project folder. It's quite sparse right now because I don't have too many projects that I've started yet, but I have started picking out some of them. So I've got here, first off then, your suggestions for sewing videos. I actually put them up in little stickies, so I have them up here. This part is really important, I feel like. So this is actually a template I made over on Google Docs, and this is how I'm going to plan my 6 projects for the year. So I have here organized, you know, in 6 different boxes: January to Feb, March to April, May to June, so on and so forth for the 12 months of the year. And I have the season written down here: winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter, things like that. And I have some space to write down exactly which pattern I'm using and what the item is. And sometimes, you know, you change your mind, erase it, move it around. But it's nice for myself to have this visual organizer so I can see. Let me know in the comments if you want the template to this. Would that be helpful for you? I can certainly upload it. I'll find a way. I'll upload it somehow, and you can download the template and use it for yourself as you wish. I have this broken zipper plastic folder, but I'm still using it. This is where I keep little receipts of fabric I've bought. I go to dress sew a lot, and it's nice for me to do this because I like to actually calculate exactly how much I've spent on a particular project, a finished garment. Now this is where all the actual majority of the planning happens. I have this notebook here. I like working with notebooks rather than larger pieces of paper, just my personal style. But I have here some of the ideas and things from the Wardrobe Architect Challenge from last year that never really got finished, but I still have been using this notebook because it does contain the inspirations and the items that I'm attracted to, and kind of like a mood board, except it's not quite a board. So I still keep this, but I've moved on and started categorizing my projects. Again, I will do a full-on video of how I go through organizing a single project and how I store them and things like that. But here's something important. I've listed down wardrobe revamp basics. So items I feel like I'm missing in my wardrobe after I've done a careful inspection and what I need to add. So I've ticked off a lot of these things because I've already bought them, which is great. And I've got here wardrobe revamp 2016. A couple of things that I need in my wardrobe: pencil skirts, long sleeve dress, casual dress, sweat shirts, lean and flared jeans, which I'm not sewing, but I could purchase. So it's nice to have a list like that for, planning what you need to buy or what you need to make. And that's it for today's video. Really hope you loved this. If you have any further suggestions for what videos about sewing you would like to see, leave it down for me in the comment section or hit me up on social media if you haven't already, and just let me know. I've been taking notes on all your sewing project and advice ideas that I will work towards uploading, and hopefully we'll have a sewing related video maybe once a month if we can work towards that. Of course, I'm still chugging along with my personal projects. I think the next video will probably be how to organize a sewing project, a single sewing project, and how I organize the patterns, storage of my fabrics, how I am sorting out and separating, organizing multiple projects that I'm working on at the same time. So if you're excited for that, let me know. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.